Hello, everyone, and welcome to Exploring Cinema. I'm Nate.
And I'm Dylan.
And I'm Adam.
Every time Adam smiles, like as I'm doing the quick little intro, I just can't ignore it. Today
I'm smiling because this one's a fun one.
So today we're talking about Gremlins from 1984. We just kind of came off our month of November where we did a bunch of old, like long period pieces. And so for the month of December, we agreed that we'll each just pick one movie that we kind of want to make the other two finally watch. And we just did Dial M for Murder, which was my pick. And Adam decided to inject a little holiday spirit into the channel.
Thank goodness.
And Dylan and I had never seen Gremlins. This felt like a great opportunity to do something seasonal that's kind of been on our watch list for a long time and do something a little silly after watching some more serious movies recently and kind of dive back to that like 80s like cheese camp actor
whatever.
So really excited about going into this one. Adam, what is Gremlins about?
Gremlins from 1984. A young man inadvertently breaks three important rules concerning his new pet and unleashes a horde of malevolently mischievous monsters on a small town.
Malevolently mischievous monsters. That's
for Listen, sure. that's IMDb for you.
Okay, so like we said before, Adam, you had seen this, something you grew up with, I'm assuming.
So I caught this on television a lot back when I was.
This
probably
feels like a
TV
movie,
to be honest.
For sure.
Yeah, very much like a TNT or like in the days of Spike TV. Like my brother or dad would have it on, and it was just on in the background, and I was running around being a very small child, and then just catching like, oh, the little Gizmo is adorable, or like what are those little green monsters, and then seeing the movie theater scene was the one I really remember. Kind of the chaos towards the end, but yeah, I caught this a lot on television when I was younger.
Awesome. So yeah, somehow this just slipped past myself and Dylan. So this is going to be a fun conversation, I think. But really quickly, before we get into our opening statements, at a glance, Gremlins 1984, directed by Joe Dante, which just feels like the name of somebody who would direct Gremlins. I think it's just fit very well. An $11 million budget, and Dylan, this might upset you. This movie did make money.
Oh my gosh, Adam!
Of $213 million.
Oh my gosh, it was a smash hit.
We're losing our cred here.
Wow.
I'm just picking winners. That's all it is.
Good for Gremlins.
So yeah, $213 million on an $11 million budget. Accolades, not a ton, which isn't super surprising.
Is there merchandise sold? Is there children's toys sold? Is that a category of accolade?
Most toys sold. And I just realized I forgot to check the Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb score for this movie.
Well, while you do that, you actually could include merchandise sales here because Gizmo is considered the father of the Furby from back in the day.
Totally see that.
The Furby design was based off of Gizmo. So if you count all the Furby sales, like this movie made a bundle of money.
That I can really see that now. That's disturbing slightly. All right. So got the usual here. Just totally whiffed on this one today. It's got an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 7.3 on IMDb, and a 3.6 on Letterboxd.
Letterboxd is.
It's all positive.
The only site that's like, okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit.
the damn cinephiles are just not having it.
Although 11% of ratings on Letterboxd are for 5 stars.
Yeah,
so that feels right. This feels like a cult classic. There are a couple like Brian Tellerico from RogerEbert.com has this as 5 stars on Letterboxd. So like,
there we go.
A lot of people seem to really love this movie. And then this came up when we talked about RoboCop a couple of months ago. This was the winner of quite a few Saturn Awards.
Oh, okay.
It won Best Horror Film, Best Director, Best Supporting Actress for Polly Holiday, which I still can't believe that's a real person's name. Who was she? I can't remember.
Probably the love interest.
Adam, can you check that? And then it also won
Polly Holiday.
Holly Holiday.
That's her
Real
real name, or that's
person.
the character's name? Okay.
I think that's her
She
real
was
name.
Mrs. Deagle. Ah, she was Mrs.
That's
Deagle.
what I thought. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then it won for best music and best special effects.
Okay. Nice.
So there you have it. That's everything basically that Gremlins won.
Mm-hmm.
Not counting our hearts, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah.
You have to know.
So really quick reminder to like and subscribe. We like to do one of these deep dives per week, usually.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like the movie Gremlins, you like this episode, go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. You'll never miss an update each time we come at you with a new one of these deep dives. And with that in mind, next week, which will be Dylan's pick for the month of December before we take like a week or two off around the holidays, will be Muriel's Wedding.
Yes, this is an Australian cult classic. It was Toni Collette's breakout performance at 22 years old. I saw it and I just felt like there's a lot going on. There's a lot of tonal shifts. It's kind of like when I was watching it, I was like, this is kind of all over the place. And then it ended and I was like, God, was that like better than I was giving it credit for? And then I read more about it and I'm like, God, I think it was. I think it really was. And so just for that, I kind of want to help. I want you guys to see it so we can all talk about it and kind of pin down like how exactly we feel about it. Because it's definitely kind of unlike a movie I've seen in a long time, and it's just just go in with an open mind and it's going to take some twists and turns, and just trust that it knows where it's going, and then I'm excited to talk about it.
All right, so that should be fun.
Nice, that should be fun.
I'll probably be getting to that in the next few days here, but for now, back to the movie of the hour, which is Gremlins. Opening statements. Adam, what do you got?
This is the 1980s in a nutshell. It is part horror, part comedy, all camp, and is a perfect late night flick.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. This is, I was a little disappointed just with our schedules. We weren't able to watch this together. And this feels very much like a movie to watch in a group. But with that, I will kind of build off of that with my opening statement. And it's just that I wish I had seen this as a kid. That's not to say I didn't enjoy it as an adult, but while I was watching it and it got over and I was in my head, I was kind of like, okay, this sort of fits into the same bucket for me as like the 90s Ninja Turtle movies or like Eight-Legged Freaks or maybe even like I think a tier below, but something like Tremors. Like it's got similar type of energy. And for me, like I love all those other ones because I grew up with them. And I still really enjoyed watching this, but there was that little kind of back of the mind feeling where I was just like, this could be one of my favorite movies ever if I was introduced to this when I was like 7.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, Nate. I felt like that watching it as well. I was like, okay, like because the certain parts that were maybe a little overly ridiculous and kind of made me think like, okay, kind of check out a little bit. I feel like if I had seen it when I was a kid, I would have like loved the zaniness of those parts, and I would totally be willing to overlook it now. But my opening statement is a fun little Christmas horror movie that manages to pull off both sides of that coin, the Christmas and the horror. And it's just a campy idea with professional execution. I felt like
okay,
it's kind of a silly idea, but man, they like really went for it, and like the commitment. The movie takes itself seriously, even when it's kind of like
Well, Spielberg produced this.
And you can tell.
So there's a bunch of people involved with this movie that like the name of. Chris Columbus wrote this movie, famously directed the first 2 Harry Potter movies. Obviously, Steven Spielberg was a producer, but then so was Kathleen Kennedy, who also now runs Lucasfilm, and among like 2 other divisions of Lucasfilm. I believe she was involved with Marvel for a little while. Like that's a huge name. And then some of the voices that are provided here, which we can get into a little bit later if we don't want to talk about it now.
We can save those.
There's a ton of people. There's a ton of people in this movie that you're just like, oh my God, that person's in it. And like, this was in the 80s. So this is before like a lot of people blew up, and like, oh my God, you're big people now. This, 40 years later. So
Hollywood sees that Gremlins credit and that gets you right in the door.
You work with Spielberg on Gremlins? Holy shit! Like,
get in here,
Gizmo.
Yeah.
All right.
You designed Gizmo? You're making everything.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
Defining moments. This one's going to be a little hard for me because I drank a THC seltzer and then watched this movie. So I was like, that was half the reason I was texting you guys while I was watching it, because it was like half that and just like half note taking.
Yeah.
Like I can come back to this. There's a record of what I thought in real time. So I have a couple. The first one that came to mind was when Do You Hear What I Hear starts playing and they're attacking the mom, who is the same mom from Back to the Future, by the way.
Interesting.
Same actress plays the mom in the 50s.
Yeah, that was a great song choice.
That was like, I was losing it when that song came on. I was like, God, they're leaning into this so hard. And like, if it's gonna be around the holidays, like you got to have at least one scene where you have Christmas music playing while non-Christmassy things are happening.
Yeah.
So I had that, and then just the Gremlins singing "Hi Ho."
Yep. Yeah, the hi ho. Like, I had that too.
Of course. And then possibly this. So I think I had mentioned to both of you after I watched it, because I have seen or talked to you both between then and now, where there were moments when I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be funny.
Oh yeah.
Or if it was just funny because the execution wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
One of those moments, which I think I'm going to decide, I think the end of this scene is what confirms that it's supposed to be funny. But when what's her name tells the lead guy, I don't remember anybody's names from this movie.
I remember Mrs. Deagle and Mogwa or
Magua.
Gizmo. That's basically
Gizmo, Mrs. Deagle.
Mrs. Deagle.
When the girl from Fast Times at Ridgemont High tells Fred Savage's cousin that why she hates Christmas.
Yeah.
That was just, oh my God.
It's one of the funniest monologues of all time.
I had to pause it because I was like trying to determine if this was horrible or a work of genius.
Yeah, she nails it. Let's just say that she nails it, and the lines she has to say are ridiculous, and therefore way funnier than it should be.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I mean, just ending it with, and that's how I found out there was no Santa Claus.
Spoilers.
That entire thing is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that was just fantastic. And then also, on top of that, I needed to throw this in too, because there are some like very dark lines in this movie.
Yeah.
That I was not remotely prepared for. And she's talking about how people get sad around the holidays, and she says, while everybody else is opening up their presents, they're opening up their wrists. And I was oh my God.
Just like edgy teenager
I remember that one
80s.
too.
Like, that was before the dead dad story. It's like a lot of inspiration for Donnie Darko here. So those were my moments that I have that I had remembered and or wrote down to remember.
Nice.
What about you, Dylan?
I have the first meeting Gizmo, the reveal of just the monster, what it looks like, and then just kind of the build up and it being a Christmas present. And after we've already spent so much time with his dad, his big gregarious dad, and then we get home and it's like, all right, let's see what this thing looks like. When the one gremlin falls into the pool and starts the chain reaction, and it turns like green and everything,
bubbling.
It starts bubbling and bright green. That just awesome. Looks cool. The overall town takeover, just kind of that whole montage. I felt like that's just like a definitive. When I think back of this movie, I'm going to think about, just all the hijinks, which is also straight up murder. It's interesting.
It is.
These gremlins kill people.
Like, people die in this movie.
They run over that couple with like a snowplow.
With the snowplow. They almost kill the dog. Like, they have the dog strung up with the Christmas lights just hanging there, and it's just kind of like stock still. And then somebody's like, "What are you doing out here?" and just unwraps him and brings him inside. It's like, what?
Adam, you're getting a little fuzzy. I'm just gonna bump you out and bump you back in really quick just
Sure.
to see if that clears it up.
Sure. Yeah, you guys faded on me at some point and got all frozen.
Oh well,
we'll figure it out.
We'll power through.
Yeah,
the horrific Christmas Story for sure was one too. I had that on there. And then lastly, I really liked that last shot when the older Asian man who owns Magua or whatever is just like walking down the street at night. That shot was just so much more like beautiful and over the top than it needed to be. It was like it was like hand painted. It was just that one shot was like
Christmas.
I know. It's like but yeah, those would be my defining moments.
Yeah, the only other one I'd add would be like, the theater takeover scene or like the town takeover when Spike goes into the theater and is eating popcorn and candy and all that stuff. And then when Corey Feldman originally spills water on Gizmo and he freaks out, and then like all of that starts and like, what's going on? We're not supposed to get him wet. And then like, oh, I guess I can give him some, like when all that stuff just starts to happen. Is kind of the original like kicking off point of like, all right, we're about to get some dangerous creatures. So
I want at some point, I don't know if we want to do this now or in observations and musings, but I do want to discuss just how much this family just kind of goes with it.
Yeah.
For the entirety of the movie.
Yeah, starting with the dad at the beginning.
Yeah, well, like he finds that thing and thinks like perfect gift for my child.
Yeah.
And then everybody sees it and they're like, cool. And then like that's all fine because he's kind of cute and but like when those like alien slime eggs start like that, I feel like that's the point where you got to get a little concerned. But like the mom just walks up the stairs and the kid's just like, man, look at this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're all just like, that's odd. I guess we'll just wait and see.
We'll just find out what happens. Nothing dangerous can come from these things that we've never seen in our lives.
I know. And then come on, you're gonna rely on one clock that could be easily unplugged to tell if it's midnight or not. Come on, dude, get a watch.
Yeah, or like it's close enough. You can't have full reliance on, no battery backup or anything.
The other defining moment, I was going to save this for observation and musing, but I guess it was a moment, was, man, the close-ups of the gremlins eating chicken legs before they turn when they're still cute, but it like shows a real close-up of them just like aggressively devouring those chicken. That was something else. I was like stuff flying up.
It's like, oh, Jesus. That's one of those shots. It's like, how do they do that?
I know.
Like, why?
All right. On to questions, and I have a big one for you guys. Maybe the most important question I've ever asked you on this show. What was your favorite dad invention? Because I made a list of my top 5 Gremlins dad inventions. Mr. whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Mr. Peltzer. I like the smokeless smoke thing, whatever that was called, because all it does is smoke. Like
the smokeless ashtray, which produces more smoke than a cigarette.
I liked the juice machine, the one
that explodes on him.
Yeah, the mega juicer,
that was built on like oranges or whatever. Like, and like you put one in, and so much more juice comes out.
So I had a top 5, and I'll start at number 5.
Okay.
See what you guys think. Number 5, I had the mega juicer.
Nice.
Number 4, I had the automatic card shuffler.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's fun.
Number 3, the electric fly swatter.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Which incredible.
Yeah.
Number 2, the bathroom buddy, the one that started it all.
Yep.
And number 1 for me is the egg smasher.
The egg, that
thing was just chef's kiss. Incredible.
Yeah, didn't it make like a clucking noise or something too, or there was some?
Well, it had like a chicken on the top of like where the little hammer was.
Yeah,
I thought it was the beak that would come down.
The beak comes down and cracks it.
Yeah.
It's all mistimed. Like
it got the first one, but then it just doesn't really work. And I love like. I also feel too like this might have been a bit of an inspiration for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Just with the vibe of like living in a house with a crazy inventor father figure where you're kind of forced to use all of his shit.
Yeah.
Even though like half of it doesn't really work and most of it is just kind of like, why do we need an electric hammer? You know?
Yeah.
Can't we just use a hammer like most people? So yeah, those are my 5 favorite
those are good
inventions. So any questions from you guys?
Yeah, my question is would you own a Magua if you had the chance?
I gotta say no, for the simple fact that I mean, don't get them wet. They accidentally spill water. There's water everywhere in your house that they could just find and flip on a faucet, and all of a sudden, then we have gremlins. Like,
yeah, and we live in a pretty wet state.
That's also true.
If we lived in like Arizona, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one.
I don't think so. Too risky.
I don't think it'll.
Well, follow-up question: how much money to care for one? How much money would pay you?
How long is it? Like a babysitting job?
Yeah, it's a babysitting job.
Oh, it's like similar to like dog watching, where like somebody's out of town for a week.
Yep, and you got to watch their Magua for a week.
I don't know, like 600K. Like,
I was gonna say, it's gotta be way more than my like normal job. It has to totally be worth it.
In this scenario, I'm aware of like everything that it's capable of doing, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not blissfully ignorant like this family is at the beginning of the movie.
You're not just like, $20 dog.
Weird dog. I'd need at least like 10K.
Yeah,
I feel like the U.S. military would be like handing it to you and be like, "We have the most important weapon on the planet. We need you to watch it
like
for
Stitch.
a week." Yeah, watch it for a week. It's got to be top secret, so like the Russians don't find it or something.
Yeah.
Any questions from you, Adam?
Not really. Just
okay.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
I had fun with it. Absolutely.
I definitely did. Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right. Observations and musings. The first one I had, which I kind of covered a little bit already, but like the family is just weirdly welcoming of Gizmo and just never even really considers the fact that something could possibly go wrong here. Just kind of they weren't very responsible and they kind of got what was coming their way a little bit.
Yeah.
People in the community should probably throw eggs at them.
Yeah, just the initial decision, like, because when we first met the store owner where he buys Gizmo, he looks so sketchy. He like has one eyeball that's like glass or something, and he's like I just wrote, I would not buy merchandise from that man.
No, I'd leave the store.
Leave the store. Also, but kudos to that little kid who's hustling though. That kid's like, meet me out back. I got you for this thing. I don't care.
Also, like that kid totally knew what could happen, and he was like, "Don't worry, old man, I got you. Just give me like $200."
I'm just trying to make a living out here.
Yeah.
No. And then other than that, just the observation of just like that they're like, it's kind of funny and it's a fun little campy movie, but like the Gremlins actually do kill people, and so it's very interesting that it goes that hard, like into the horror side. It's like, oh no, they're definitely gonna die, but also it's gonna be Christmas kitsch kind of like fun, like camp. But also, like, we are going to run over these people with a snowplow. Like,
and we will not see them again.
Yeah, murder. Yeah. Straight up
they
murder.
Are gone.
The next one I have is I might be wrong here, so somebody correct me if I am, but I also think that the like plant monster in Little Shop of Horrors was purchased in Chinatown. So I don't know what was going on in the 80s with like, this is where you go to buy like otherworldly beings that will kind of fuck up your life. But apparently that's what America thought happened there.
It was just an easy way to explain things away.
Yeah. And then this one I could not let go. When the Gremlins are watching Snow White in the movie theater, those scenes are not in the correct order.
Oh,
yeah. You had texted us this because you had just watched Snow White, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so it was easy for you to be like, "That's not right."
Yeah,
That
exactly.
happens
Because
after
Whistle
they
While
go
You
in
Work
line.
goes into Hi Ho, and they played it the other way around.
Ugh,
I'm on to you, Gremlins.
yeah, come on.
Way to go, Joe
Spielberg
Dante.
producing a mistake like that? Come on.
Yeah.
Did you have any, Adam?
Observations and music? I mean, this whole movie is just ripe with.
Adam's
I mean,
got like 47.
This whole movie is
There's-
amusing.
Yeah, I mean, go into the trivia. I mean, we're going to share some tidbits later, but go into the trivia. There's a ton of stuff in there. There's a bunch of different connections with Spielberg to, references to Indiana Jones. There's a bunch of stuff with, Corey Feldman, the connections between him and Steven Spielberg, just a bunch of stuff, like kind of that old Hollywood going back. And a lot of people started here. So there's a lot of little things, a lot of references to this or that, or, you can poke through all those, but there's a ton of that in this movie. Even some of the Gremlins say lines from other movies that reference, like Jurassic Park, I believe, is one of them.
Mhm.
Or not, no, Jurassic Park's later, obviously. It's a different Steven Spielberg thing. I'd have to look at it again, but
Close Encounters.
Close Encounters.
Something. There's just a ton of little, like, they don't really speak the Gremlins, but they do kind of like, and they'll make a little bit of a word, and that's like a reference to this or that or something like that. There's a ton of it. So
should we?
This movie's more fun than it should be.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the tidbits.
On to the
Nate, what do
tidbits.
you got? 'Cause I know you've got a couple. I've got
I just had one, and you already have it. So,
oh, take it away. Take it away. I've got a lot.
Howie Mandel voiced Gizmo.
Bizarre.
Yeah, of Deal or No Deal fame.
Insane to me. I cannot believe that the same person did those two things.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So,
bizarre.
Howie Mandel voices Gizmo, and then there's a bunch of people who, if you look up their IMDb's, you'd recognize them, but they all voice the Mogwai or the Gremlins. So Bob Bergen, Peter Cullen, Michael Sheehan, Bob Holt, and Michael Winslow is probably the most famous of those. Michael Winslow being the guy from the Police Academy movies who does all the sound effects with his voice. So there's that. Then there's also Steven Spielberg appeared in this movie as is an uncredited role. He's the guy in the electric wheelchair towards the end.
I don't even remember that.
I don't.
He's like slowly going down, and I believe he gets attacked. But that was Steven Spielberg, which I think is just hilarious.
He was just super giddy over that.
Yeah, he was just, I don't care. This one goes back to Nate's original points about how much money and stuff this made. This is the fourth highest grossing film of 1984.
Jeez.
And it came out the same weekend as Ghostbusters.
Oh,
so
well,
it competed.
And that's interesting too, because
the original Barbenheimer.
I'm kind of surprised that there hasn't been a crossover. It just felt like this coming out the same year as Ghostbusters. Like there could easily be a crossover where the Ghostbusters have to go in and deal with a gremlin infestation.
Okay, I found the top 5 grossing movies of 1984. If we want to
do it,
do it.
Number 5 is The Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Number 4 is Gremlins. Number 3 is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Number 2 is Ghostbusters, and number 1 is Beverly Hills Cop.
Wow, that's quite the.
To be honest, what a list!
Yeah.
And Gremlins is up there for some reason.
And a movie that we recently did an episode on, Amadeus, is number 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very weird that Gremlins and Amadeus came out the same year.
The 80s are a gem for just finding because there were really good dramas made in the 80s, but then there were also, you just get Gremlins and The Karate Kid and Police Academy and Footloose. And
Wolf, which was that year as well,
and Revenge of the Nerds. And then you get Amadeus and Romancing the Stone and The Natural and The Killing Fields.
All over the place.
Just an incredible year. Cannonball Run 2 also came out in 1984. We might just rededicate this entire show to reviewing movies from 1984.
Yeah.
I mean,
make an entire podcast about movies that came out in 1984.
Yeah, honestly, we probably could. This is kind of a funny list. The Terminator came out in 84, and that was in the 20s. Wow. 21. Red Dawn.
That's wild.
Have you guys seen Red
That's
Dawn?
Yeah.
I have seen the remake.
Dawn
I don't
came
think
out
I've
in
seen the
84.
original.
Oh man, Red Dawn is something else.
Oh man.
Yeah, Muppets Take Manhattan, A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Flamingo Kid.
I don't even know what that is.
That's a movie with Matt Dillon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was Rumblefish 1984 too, or is that 85?
God, that made like $7 total. So
I
it might. I don't know if it's going to be on this list. Paris, Texas was from 1984.
Paris, Texas was 1984? I thought it was later in the 80s.
Yeah.
Wow, that year really did have it all.
There's a Cheech and Chong movie. This entire episode is just sunk into
It's just
us.
love of the 80s.
Yeah, basically. I don't see Rumblefish, so it at the very least was not in the top 165. But I don't think it was 1984. I feel like it was a slightly different year.
Okay.
So not only did this movie come out on the same day as Ghostbusters,
Back to Gremlins.
It debuted at number 2 at the box office, and it was only $1 million short of beating Ghostbusters.
Wow.
Yeah, on the same day, which is bananas to me. As I mentioned earlier, Gizmo was the inspiration for the Furby in the 90s. This movie and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom are credited with inspiring the MPAA to create the PG-13 rating, because this movie is both too violent for a PG rating, but not violent enough for an R rating. So they created the PG-13. Same with Temple of Doom.
Interesting.
This one's fun about Howie Mandel because he had to record his dialogue in multiple languages for different territories. He said, "I didn't think I was speaking English to begin with, so it didn't matter." Joe Dante.
Why do I need to adjust this gibberish?
It's just gibberish, yeah. He said he thinks that one of the reasons the movie did so well overseas is that they tailored parts of that speech, Gizmo's speech, specifically for each country. So in Germany, there's a bar scene. They're singing German beer songs, and they find local jokes and local references. So that's one of the reasons this movie is so beloved kind of the world over, is because they put time in and tried to do stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, Howie Mandel recorded Gizmo's lines phonetically for the foreign dubs of the movies, so like all the localized in jokes and stuff still made sense.
Interesting.
I've quite a few, so I'm just going through a few of them. This one's really fun. The set of Kingston Falls, where this movie takes place, is the same one used for Back to the Future from 1985.
I said that. I texted it to you guys while I was watching the movie.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you caught it. You caught it because it's just filmed in the Universal Studios backlot.
Well,
that's so much fun.
Of where the movie theater is, I was like, that's totally where he crashes in when he comes back.
Yep,
like that's the exact same setup. Oh,
yeah,
amazing! I'm so glad that you confirmed that.
Awesome. In an early attempt to have monkeys play the Gremlins, which would have been bananas to me.
Pun intended.
It was abandoned because the test monkey panicked and when he had to wear the gremlin head and like tore apart the office that they were in. And,
is that from that's what they depict in Nope?
Damn it. Just killed everybody. They're like, it's fine, it's perfect.
I'm sorry, Dylan. I should have let you have that one. Nope, it's more your movie.
In Cantonese, Mogwai means devil or demon. So that's where that comes from.
All that guy needed was a dictionary to know not to buy that thing.
Yeah.
Yep. One of the studio notes to the director Joe Dante from Steven Spielberg was that there's too many gremlins, and he suggested cutting them all out and calling the movie People.
Okay.
So fucking petty.
It's so fun because Steven Spielberg was very friendly with Chris Columbus, who wrote the movie, and Chris Columbus shows up in a bunch of other Spielberg projects. So when they were working together and Joe Dante was brought in for this movie, he just kind of like let him have free reign and just kind of like let him do it. They're like, it's going to be fun, it's going to be campy, do all that. Oh shoot, I had one more, at least one more. The Gizmo puppets were particularly frustrating to use because they were so small. So they broke down a bunch. So the scene where the Gizmo is up against the dartboard and the gremlins are throwing darts at him was included because the crew they had a horrible list of things to do to Gizmo list. And that was one of the things. So they threw that in the movie.
That's great.
And then I've got, I think that's the last one. Oh, the last one I have is that Steven Spielberg insisted that one of the Gremlins stay cute or stay, a good guy. So Gizmo, so that they had somebody to kind of the audience had somebody to fondly remember, which is why they think that this movie did so well. You have a hero type. He's cute and adorable, and it sold a bunch of merch that instantly endeared, a lot of people to this movie.
I also read that
so
some
nuts.
parents got a little pissed at this movie because some of the trailers just kind of focused on Gizmo and made it look a little bit like E.T. And then it's also rated PG, and then you get into the second half of the movie, and all of a sudden it's not.
It is not.
Yeah.
Gremlin murder.
These gremlins are playing cards and drinking.
Smoking cigars.
Killing people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a bunch of fun tidbits online you should definitely go check out. But that's that's most of them. I think the most interesting one is that this is shot at the same spot that Back to the Future is, which is
fascinating. I love that.
That is fun. Yeah, that's a really cool tidbit.
Yeah, that's what I've got. There's plenty out there.
All right, tidbits are over. That means it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for.
Ooh.
The McCabe coat.
Bring it out.
Of excellence.
Beautiful.
Man, can you imagine a gremlin rocking that coat?
You mean like 100 gremlins rocking that coat?
Yeah.
And like
and
living in it, making
like that would just be incredible. So if this is your first time joining us, at the end of each episode, we give out the McCabe Code of Excellence, kind of like the green jacket at the Masters, to any person involved with the movie who we feel exhibited excellence. We don't have to give out a coat if we don't want to, but up to 3 can be given out. So I will start here, and I am giving this coat to, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, Chris Wallace.
Dang it. God, we are on the same page. That's who I'm giving it to as well.
Who
Chris
designed
Wallace.
the puppets.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan, you want to expand on that then?
Yeah, the monster designer, as he's known. I guess he was known for a lot of different things, but this is obviously particularly his most famous one, or one of them. He also did The Fly, some of Jabba the Hutt stuff, but yeah. Okay. Chris Wallace hailed as a special effects pioneer and the creature master behind Gremlins. I just think the whole, how it looks, the rules going from cute to really scary, and kind of like just pulling off the whole concept with the monster. I feel like that's what makes this work. If the Gremlins themselves and Gizmo himself isn't as cute, but also potentially dangerous, then the whole thing just would feel silly. But I felt like
lifelike enough.
That too. Yeah. Yeah. Like when they do get evil, like they're very believable and dangerous looking. Yep. And yeah. So I that's funny. I thought we might be on the same page there. Chris Wallace. How about you, Adam?
That's what I'm going to go with, because I would love to give it to Gizmo just for being like such an adorable, like it just sucks you in so perfectly. And you're like, oh my God, this is going to be such a great little thing. And then you have the Gremlins be so terrifying and so mischievous and evil. Mm-hmm. The person who designed that has to get the coat, because it works. It makes this movie work. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's got to be Chris.
All right.
Nice.
Another trifecta. Mm-hmm. One man.
Mm-hmm.
On to wrap this up here, on to closing statements. I just have that I liked this enough to be curious about watching the sequel, which I wasn't sure if I would be going into it. So we'll see if I get to that this year or not, but I will eventually at some point be watching the sequel. I feel like that's one that, we're not doing an episode on it. We can try to all be together to watch.
Yeah, Gremlins we absolutely should be.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah.
Well, and director Joe Dante says that he prefers the second one to the first one.
Oh,
so which is kind of fun. They make a lot. Yeah, it's zanier. They make a lot more fun of this one. They make fun of the rules that they imply. Or you can't feed them after midnight. We're like, well, it's after midnight somewhere
all the time. Yeah,
so all the time. So that rule's kind of dumb. So they poke fun at that kind of stuff, and it's a little bit more fun. Yeah,
nice. My closing statement, very similar to yours. I am intrigued enough to watch the second one, which is a surprise. I didn't know going in, but it definitely exceeded my expectations. I'm glad I saw it. And it's classic 80s cheese, but it's the fancy cheese that you only serve at Christmas.
Love it. Touche. This full 80s camp. This is back when movies were fun and not 9 hours long all the time.
So damn serious.
It's so damn serious.
Although the 80s were also an era of super long epics.
For sure.
Yeah. But like I said before, the 80s were like everything.
They're all over the place. But yeah, just pure camp, pure joy. Just weird.
That's something to have on the poster. Pure camp, pure joy, just weird.
Yep.
And a reminder, our next episode will be Muriel's Wedding from 1994, which is my choice. And then there you go. Then all three of us have presented our choice, and this is a fun little exercise. Helped us fill the month of December. And whose turn is it to put a wrap on the show?
I've got it.
Adam, take it away.
Hey, kid, this is Christmas, not Halloween. Listen, gang, Rockin' Ricky's getting fed up with this Orson Welles crap, so cool it, will ya?